Welcome to the MadHouse podcast, a safe place where we discuss the things that have been on our mind. So sit back, relax, as we dive deep down into the rabbit hole to see how far it goes. We're basically starting this podcast because we were having a lot of conversations amongst ourselves, and the table talks were so good, and I was like, man, you know what, we could probably reach out to a lot of people, and there's probably a lot of individuals going through the same thing we're going through.
Yeah.
And they might not know or realize that the struggle doesn't have to be internal.
Yeah.
You can share that with other people, lighting that load and kind of getting that breath of fresh air. So one of the things we wanted to do was start off with a base, and what I thought was important was going into one of the key factors in building a foundation. And we thought that physical health would actually be a real good place to start. What were you thinking about that?
I think it's a good place to start because, like, physical health is so much more than just physical health. Like, I guess in essence, physical health is just an extension of everything else that goes on in your life. You know, like, it may start as like a physical thing, but it will end up manifesting itself into more of an emotional kind of connection. Because, like, when you feel good, you know, you feel different when you feel good. When you feel like you look good, you just feel different. Like, you approach situations differently in life. It's like, you know, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Now I'm just feeling crappy, and I'm just like, you know, whatever. And then one bad thing happens, and then from that one bad thing, it's like, oh snap, my whole day is just going to hell now. It's like, oh, I'm just in a bad mental space. But, like, when you're, like, on a set schedule, or, like, you have, like, consistency in your life where you're like, okay, hey, I'm doing this, and then I'm gonna do this. And when you're, the first one is successful, and then the next one is successful, it's just, you feel good about those things. And, like, I mean, you just take that forward into your day. Like, everything else just feels good, you know?
And see, like, that's one of the first things we want to talk about, the correlation between physical and emotional health. And this is one of the things that I can really look at, because one of the things I struggle with is depression. And I know it's one of those taboo topics. No one likes to talk about it. And as a man, especially for me, it was always hard because I've always had the mentality that I have to show this face. It's a mask almost. And this mask has to portray calm, collected, focused, always there. But on the inside, there's so much insecurity and doubt, and not really knowing if the decisions I make are right. And you feel that on the inside, but you can't let people see that, because you feel like if they see that, they're going to judge you and treat you like less than a man, and see you as weak. And I had to come to the realization that being emotionally vulnerable as a man isn't weakness.
It's not.
You know?
Like, it's a strength. Like, when you're able to kind of, like, tap into another side of, like, your emotions and be emotionally intelligent enough to say, hey, you know, I'm not having a good day. I'm not feeling good. I'm sad about this. I'm angry about this. I'm mad. It's like, men, we're quick to like, we're so very, very fast to show anger and to show aggression and show dominance, because, you know, you ripping the shirt off, you yelling like, what's up? We're so quick to do those things. But, like, when it comes to, like, a deeper level of emotional understanding, we're all just like, oh, well, you know, I ain't gonna say I care about that, man. I don't care about none of that stuff. It don't affect me. It don't faze me. But, like, the strength doesn't lie in, like, this display of, like, emotion where it's like power, like, I'm powerful, fear me. Like, the real strength lies in showing that, like, I'm emotionally intelligent enough to acknowledge the fact that, like, hey, I am upset, but I don't have to act on my baser instincts and, like, oh, I gotta come off the shirt, I gotta do this, I gotta raise my voice, because that doesn't really make you tough. Like, being strong inside and being able to, like, relay your emotions without having to show all this aggression, that's a real sign of strength right there.
And I think a big part of that, what I can attest to, is having the physical health to go along with it, because I feel like I have become emotionally weaker now that I haven't worked out in so long, and I'm overweight, and I've noticed I've just let myself get real sloppy, and it takes a toll on you emotionally. I think, and then once you get so far down deep into that rabbit hole, you don't know how to get out. It's like I said, I was telling you before, it's like that dark hole, and there's a ladder there, but you can't see it. You're just searching it, and you don't know how to get out.
Yeah.
And I think physical fitness allows an avenue for you to channel a lot of that emotional stress so that you can more easily deal with it. Not to say that because you physically work out, you are emotionally stable.
Yeah.
More so that being physically fit allows you to process your emotions better, because when you're not physically fit, as I can attest personally, it's so much harder to vent that stress.
Yeah.
And like from you, like you're really hardcore in the gym. Like, how does it affect you when you know that you can go to the gym when you're in a bad mood and get that pump and you're physically fit? And does it help you process your emotions better versus when you were out of shape and still depressed? Because that's compounding.
Yeah.
It's compounding on top of it.
Yeah, you're taking a bad situation and making it worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think that I'm in pretty good shape. So, for the most part, how I do in the gym specifically correlates to how the rest of my whole day goes. Like, I become so emotionally dependent on the gym that, like, it literally, everything hinges on how I feel about myself in the gym. Like, there are days when I have great workouts, and, like, those days when I have great workouts, I'm in, like, a great mental space. It's like everything flows for me. Like, I'm confident. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do whatever. There's nothing nobody can tell me, because I already know for a fact. I'm like, I can do that. I'm good. Bad situation happens, like, okay, that was cool. I can get over it. The reverse of that is, like, when I'm not feeling myself in the gym, now it's more of an emotional thing, because I need it emotionally to be able to kind of, like, put everything together. Like, if I have a bad workout, now my self-confidence is lacking. Now I'm kind of in that rabbit hole where I'm like, man, I couldn't finish my workout. I'm like, maybe I'm not good enough to finish that workout. And then everything kind of starts to build on top of that, because it's like, man, that workout was really crappy. Like, man, maybe today just ain't my day, or maybe, like, this ain't my week, or this ain't my year. And it's easy to get down on yourself, especially when you're already depressed. Like, when I was depressed, it was hard for me to go in the gym and get good workouts. So because it was hard for me to get good workouts, it was hard for me to feel good about myself and have that self-esteem. So I can relate to what you're saying, because, like, I know how it feels to have a bad workout and already be depressed. So now I'm looking for other things to kind of, like, fill that void, because the gym couldn't do it for me because I just wasn't into it. So, I mean, I can relate to you on that.
And I think that's a real good segue into the next part I want to talk about, was boosting self-confidence. And I remember, like, this is young Nate, young Natheeeeze. Natheeeeze, so, like, this is back in the day when I was really feeling myself, and, like, I was in decent shape. I wasn't like, triathlon, but I was in decent shape.
He was manageable. Like, he was average.
You can work with me.
Yeah, he was cool.
You can work with me. Like, I can run and I'm not running. I'm not wheezing, right? So, and I had a level of self-confidence and a level of swagger that I don't really have anymore. And I feel like I've changed a lot as I've grown up, and I feel like my self-confidence has went down a lot.
Yeah,
and it's really, like I said, ties back into, like, just falling out of shape. I fell into that depression, and that depression led into me not wanting to go work out. And I would say, I could work out, but you know what? Nah, I'm gonna skip today. And then I would, like, go the next day, and then I would skip 2 days, and then I might go 1 day, and then I might skip a whole week, and then it just devolved into, hey, you know what? I'm just not gonna go at all. And then now look, 3 years later, I haven't been in the gym. And when the last time I've been in the gym is when we went last week, and at first I didn't want to go. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I know you didn't.
I didn't want to go.
I know. I knew your ego would not allow you to not go, so I was like, oh, he'll go.
But I said, you know what? I can't. If nothing else, I've always had a baseline of self-confidence where it's like, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah,
you're not gonna like intimidate me out of going to the gym, like, but inside I'm like, damn, you want to ask me to go to the damn gym? I just want to sit at the crib and watch TV and watch anime.
I know there was a time when you were thinking of trying to come up with excuses like, oh man, with the kids, Jaden was coughing, so I'm gonna just go ahead and chill.
Yeah.
So I was already like at home. I was like, I'm just waiting for him to text me because I'm gonna be like, I don't care, I'm outside. Like, let's go. Like, I don't care.
And so like, I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm gonna go. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna let my little brother just show me out. I'm finna go. Mm-hmm. I said, you know, I'm a Marine. I said, look,
you better hoorah yourself out that bed.
Like, you ain't finna do me like that. So I went, and when I got in there, I had a realization. I felt good.
Yeah.
And I didn't go in there thinking, man, I'm fat as shit, and everybody else here fit as fuck. You know, I didn't go in there thinking. I went in there with a mentality of, let's get it, because I already knew that my little brother was gonna be like, I want to greet it today.
Yeah.
So I said, that was all that was on my mind, and I had this confidence, kind of like building up, and I was like, man, I feel good. Like, if he can do it, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And I even had to back down the weights. I was like, man, I said if I go too hard by trying to fake the front, I said, you know what? I want to push harder and up every rep. But I said, the reality is, man, I haven't been in the gym in 3 years.
Yeah.
So like, I have so much muscle atrophy that I can't do that. But I said, I'm gonna still do the reps.
Yeah. That's what's
it's
important.
gonna hurt, but I'm gonna do it. And I felt good afterwards. And then I started thinking about, okay, well, maybe I need to go ahead and get me my own membership. And I started thinking about what life could be like being fit again and having that confidence. And it wasn't for like, man, I wanna look good for the ladies or this and that. It was more.
That's part of it, though.
I mean, it's nice.
That's part of it. Let's
it's nice.
Don't sugarcoat. That's half of it.
It's nice.
You know, it's not a quarter of it.
You know, it's nice, but it was more so the fact that feeling of when you walk in a room and you have that command presence.
Yeah.
And that's what I miss, because I always had that while I was in the military. Like I was always on top. I was always in leadership positions.
You was that dude.
Yeah, I was that dude. People respected me. And I had a command presence. That's what we call it in the military. I don't know what the civilian people call it, but we call it a command presence. And I look at myself now and I realize, man, I don't really have a command presence now, because when I look in the room, people are looking at me like, that's. If he says something, I know it. They're looking like, dude, you look lazy. And
you ain't telling me nothing right now.
You look sad. You look sad, man. Like, you look sad.
You can tell me stuff, but I ain't gonna listen to you. I don't think you know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to feel that again, and I felt it.
Yeah.
And I was actually glad that I was able to get that back just from one time at the gym. And I think that's a really important thing in self progression and in building that physical and mental foundation. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's just so important, man. Like I said, as I said earlier, like, when you feel good, when you look good, you feel good. And you just approach life differently because you know that people view you a certain way. Like, my idol is like The Rock. Like, I look at The Rock, and like, when I look at The Rock, he looks like a man that could lead me. Like, if The Rock walked in here right now and just told me to do something, I'm gonna listen to him, because I'm like, you obviously know what you're talking about. He's got that presence, he's got that aura about himself, not just because of his personality, but because of his physique. Like, you look at The Rock, he don't look like he don't lift weights. He look like he be in the gym all the time. Like, he looked like he about that life. And I'm like, see, I like that though. Like, I like feeling like when I walk into a room, like, people look at me a certain way and they're like, hey man, that dude knows what he's talking about. Like, when you see somebody who's physically fit, that shows a level of dedication. I know I can look at you, I'm like, okay, I don't really know much about you, but just from looking at you, your physical stature, you've at least put time in, you put effort in, you've shown dedication. Like, dudes with six packs, like, they didn't just wake up and be like, okay, I got a six pack. No, they put some work in to get that six pack. Like, it ain't easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. So, like, being physically fit, just, it boosts your self-confidence so much. And like when I first started working out, all right, so the reason I first started working out is like I was in like middle school, and like I was a little fat when I was growing up. I was a fat kid. I was chubby as hell. It's cool. I ain't really, but I was always like a funny dude. So everybody thought I was pretty cool. There's one chick, she walks up to me one time and she's like, we're just sitting there talking. She's like, Jordan, you know what? You cute, but you fat. And I just sat there, and I wasn't even offended. I just sat there for like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, oh, snap. She said I was cute, but I was fat. I was like, wait a minute. I could do something about that. I was like, I could lose some weight. So I started going outside, and I started running, and I started, like, linking up with my homie. His name is Lynn. I started linking up with him, and he started showing me how to work out, and I was like, all right. And then I started losing a little bit of weight. So when I started losing that weight, females started getting real receptive to me, and they were like, oh, hey, Jordan. I was like, oh, snap, are you talking to me? So then after I saw that reception that I was getting from females, like, that made me start feeling good, because I used to just lean on comedy as like a defense mechanism. But as people started getting more receptive to me and my body started changing, people started to kind of like look at me differently, and they were like, oh, that's Jordan. Like, oh, he look good. I'm like, oh, well, all right, let me just keep doing this then, because like now I'm starting to feel good about myself. Now I don't have to talk about other people and like make fun of them to like make people like me, like, because that's kind of what I was doing. Like when I was younger, I would like, I would joke about people and like be bagging on people and like roasting them and stuff, because that made me feel good, because I was like, well, I'm fat, I'm out of shape, I'm sloppy, whatever. But as I started to kind of get in shape, I was like, all right, well, I don't have to do that no more. Like I don't have to try to make somebody else feel bad to make myself feel good. I could just go to the gym. I can actually just work out, make myself feel better, and now I just feel good. Like I don't have to try to put nobody else down to do so, and that just boosted my confidence, man. Like that made me feel good. I feel like I was doing something. Like granted, the females was the reason I got into it, but like as I continued on, I just started to feel good about myself. It just made me feel different. I literally had like this falsity of confidence. Like I felt like I could literally do anything and nobody was gonna tell me nothing. Like I was like, oh nah, dude, like I'm that dude. He's like, oh nah, Jordan, you can't beat me in run. I was like, let's line them up, let's go right now. Like I didn't care. Like that's how good I felt about myself, and all that stemmed from like this emotional tie that I had to looking good. Like once I started to feel good about myself, like I was able to kind of turn that into like a physical thing. So now it's like I'm feeling good, now I'm starting to look good, and now it's like, okay, that's leaking over into all other facets of my life, and like I haven't looked back since. Like I love that feeling. Like it makes me feel, I can't even explain it. Like it makes me feel like I'm really doing something, and it's just like
makes you feel powerful.
Yeah, I got this power feeling, and it's like, oh yeah, I look good.
And it's funny that you bring up like the linking up with your friend and the females, because I think another important part about physical and mental health goes into like how it affects your relationships. Mm-hmm. And I know, like personally, I can attest that when you're not right, mm-hmm. everything else falls by the wayside. Like, they always say that you gotta have yourself together before you can like really expect stuff from everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. And I had to realize that I need to get myself together because I'm falling so short of my relationships. Yeah. And people expect certain things from you, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just natural. Like for me, a big push to make this transition is my kids, right? So when I'm in a bad state physically, like I've let myself go physically, I let the depression grab a hold of me, and my mental starts to fail. I have kids that now see this as a norm. Yeah. Because it's really important to build a sense of consistency and build a facade for your children, because they take the beginning stages of their life through their experiences with their parents. Mm-hmm. That's all they know. Yep. So if all the time they see dad depressed, dad's too tired to go play, and anytime they do anything, it sets me off because I'm already emotionally on twigs and they snap. It affects them as they grow. You have to. I almost call it like faking the funk, and I say that not in a way that not in a way that is bad. It's just that I've always been a firm believer with my kids and with a lot of relationships. I feel that you have to fake it a lot of times because I think it's really important.
In a sense,
I think it's really important you have to fake it because and people say, "Oh, why are you faking it? That's stupid. Don't." I say, "No, you have to because listen." I don't know how many times my son has came up to me wanting to show me his Lego set that he created. And it's to him, this is the most amazing shit he's ever done.
This is like Picasso.
Like this creation he built is he's been working on this for 5 minutes and it's the best creation he's ever built. And he's so excited. He just wants to show you. And in your mind, let's just be real. You're looking at like, okay.
That literally looks like 2 blocks put together. In his mind, he sees it one way. In your mind, you're like, man, that's just 2 blocks that you stuck together to make an L. Like,
but you have to give him a certain type of energy.
Yeah.
Even if you don't feel that way, your son might draw a circle and be like, "Oh, Dad, look at this circle," and you be like, in your mind, you be like, "Son, that's just a circle." If anybody else showed you that, you'd be like, "That's just a circle."
Okay,
it's a circle. Okay,
but when it's your kid, it hit differently. It's like,
yeah, you have to give them a certain energy, and I call it faking the funk. That not that you should go through like faking, but there's certain things in life that you just have to get over and say, "Hey, I want to support your growth."
Yeah,
and I know that this might not be important to me.
Yeah,
but it's fucking important to you.
Yeah,
so it is important to me.
Yeah,
like, so I'm gonna give you that energy, like. But this is crazy. This is like you did this
because you're doing it more so for the other like for your child, and you could do it with other people, but you're doing it more so for your child than you're doing it for yourself because like at that age and that level of understanding, they expect you to be excited about everything that they do.
Yeah.
Like when they do something, they want that acknowledgement, they want that affirmation. They tell me that I did a good job, and like I think it's important in the early stages to give them that because like now that opens that door like okay, I can share things with Dad gets excited, Dad's happy for me, like all the things that you do when they're little, it builds like because now they're like okay, I can open up to Dad. Oh hey Dad, look, I drew this picture for you, and you like, man, that picture look like shit. But like in your mind you're like, man, that picture look like shit. But like in reality you're like, are you for real? Is that me? Do I got a hamburger on my head? Is that me with 4 toes? Okay, this is a great picture. I love this picture because like they need to see that. So I get what you like. Maybe it's not so much as faking, but you do have to kind of put on like that happy face sometimes, even when you don't want to, because like, I mean that's just like at the very on the surface level. But like when it comes to like that emotional kind of thing, like your kids can't always see you sad. Like when you're going through things, you're not always gonna be like. When I go through things, I don't want my son to see me going through things. Yeah. I want him to see Dad as he sees it. In his eyes, I'm a hero. In his eyes, I've always got energy. I'm never tired. I'm always playing with him. I'm always chasing him. I'm always tickling him. Even when I'm tired, I'm like, I really don't want to, but like that's how Jacob knows me. So I'm going to be there for him because that's what he deserves. Like when I'm sad, and there have been plenty of times where I'm like, I'm just not with it. I'm sad, and he sees that. Like he sees those kind of things. And there was one time, I won't get too much into it, but there was a time where I was just really feeling real low, and he was with me, and we're sitting at the dinner table, and I was crying, and I was sitting at the table and I was crying, and he looks at me, he's eating his little food, and he looks at me, he's like, it's okay, don't cry, and then he comes over and he starts patting my shoulder, and he's like touching my back, so obviously that made me even more sad, so now I'm sitting there crying even harder, and I'm like, it's okay, but I'm all right.
Let's talk about it.
So, I mean, I'm sitting there just like, and I made a decision that same night after he went to bed. I was like, I don't ever want my son to see me like that again because I was not in a good spot. But like, he noticed that. Like in my mind, I didn't think he was really paying attention because he's over there playing with his little pizza rolls or whatever. But like, he looked at me and he noticed that, and he caught onto that emotion.
They feel it.
He felt it, like, because he felt compelled enough to say, it's all right, don't cry. Like, he understood what was going on. He understood what I was doing. And like I said, obviously that made me even more sad. And I'm just sitting there like, I was like, I can't do that again. You know, like I need to try to do better for my son because I got to do better. Like I don't want my son to know me like that. I don't want him to know me as like, oh, daddy's always crying or daddy's always sad. Daddy's always like sleeping or depressed or whatever. Like I don't want him to know me like that. Like that's not something I want from my child because I mean, there's just a certain light that I want my son to see me in. Because like there was a quote that I read in a book one time, you know, it's basically, and I don't want to mess it up, but the basic principle of the quote was like, appreciate the times when your kids are little and they're ignorant to everything.
And so
because like there'll come a time where they'll be able to see your faults and they'll be able to feel their own kind of way about it. And I'm like, oh damn, that's powerful, man. Like he'll seriously like he'll see me for something, for what it actually is, as opposed to being like what I want him to think.
And yeah, see, like, I noticed, like, I always try to do everything for my kids as well. Like, I try to, anytime they ask to do something, I try to always be there and do it. Like, even when I don't want to. But I noticed as I got mentally and physically worse, that it would become harder to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say it's real important because it really affects your relationships.
Yeah.
And that's just from my perspective. And I mean, you can go into your, that goes into wife,
yeah,
brothers, sisters, and everybody else. And there's a lot of aspects of it, but how it affects me with my children is really how I try to base most of my stuff off of, because that's what's most important to me right now. You know, and it touches all aspects of it. But I mean, I just thought that was real crucial to talk about, because I need to build on my personal physical health and mental health so that it's easier to deal with the kids and everybody else in my atmosphere, my bubble. And you know, I think it's real good to work on that, because I've noticed I can still do it, but I notice the strain now.
Yeah.
And if it's a strain, I know that if I continue to degrade, I'm eventually gonna snap.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing I want to do with my kids. So I mean, I thought that was real crazy. So,
and that's just kids. Like that's just one piece of this equation. We're not even talking about girlfriends, wives. Like when you got an old lady, you then have to open yourself up to another person. You have to then be vulnerable to another person, and like that's hard to do. Like not only is it hard to do originally, but like when you don't have all your stuff together and you don't feel mentally and physically good, it's even harder to try to open up to that person.
Yeah.
And now if you are able to bring them in, now you're asking them to deal with everything that stems from like you not being mentally and emotionally okay. Now you're asking them to deal with all your problems because you're bringing baggage now. Like now you're bringing bad attitudes. You're bringing pessimism. You're looking at situations like, oh, well, you know, glass half empty kind of thing, instead of like, oh, hey, it's a glass half full. Now it's harder to work through those things now because you've got this one person who's trying to support you. She's trying to be there for you, and then you've got all this extra baggage, and you're trying to deal with it. And you're picking and choosing when to let her in, when to not let her in.
Yeah.
It's emotionally taxing on you, and it's emotionally taxing on your partner. And it'll probably just get to the point where it's uninhabitable. And she's like, I gotta go, man. Like you're doing the most, you're doing a lot. I just can't be here with you. Like, so it's so important to like have yourself. I'm not saying that you have to be perfect, but you at least have to be aware that there's something wrong. If you're at least aware of it, you can like take steps to progress to do something more, as opposed to just being like, well, you know, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to address it. And I'm just going to, it's everybody else's fault. Like, it's everybody else's fault. Like, you're the reason that this isn't working. But people don't want to acknowledge the fact that, like, a lot of their own problems stem from themselves. Like, the things that they haven't addressed in their own life, that's where most of your problems come from. Like, if everybody stopped and looked at themselves and like, okay, well, maybe I am this way because, you know, how my mom treated me when I was younger, or how my dad did this to me when I was a little kid. Like, look at what you're bringing to the table, how you're dealing with things, and then it's easier for you to like at least make progress so you can kind of move forward.
And yeah, I think we touched a lot today, and there's obviously like a lot of stuff that we can go into, and obviously on additional shows, but I mean, I really think that we put a lot out there, and it's really good for me because it actually gives me more to think about.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, in wrapping it up, there's a lot that I need to do personally, physically, and there's a lot of commitments I need to make, and that's a personal challenge, and that's something I have to accomplish. And I mean, it's like, it's no day like today, you know, just do it today. And I mean, that's my thoughts on it. I feel like it was good, you know, having this conversation, even having this topic, because like I said, I think it's important to start with this as a baseline of that physical and mental and how it kind of affects you. And I really feel like now in my life, this is going to be somewhere that I can go down that lane and progress. And like I said, having that accountability partner, and like I said, yourself, and in my kids, because my kids hold me accountable all the time.
Yeah,
because they don't care about daddy, you tired, or this. They want it. They need that love and affection. They hold me accountable. So
they're your anchor. And I think this is good that you're kind of starting this journey now. Like, and I think it's good that we can now catalog this, because like, this isn't just a journey just for you. Like, granted, this is your portion of it. Like, you're on your own personal journey. But the people that are also listening to this, like, this could be their journey as well. Like, not only are they with you on your journey, but you're with them on their journey. Is like, this is all intertwined. So they're with you on your journey. They're hearing your struggles. They're hearing the things that you're going through. They can always reach out and say, hey man, I'm going through X, Y, Z. Like, it's almost like a support group now. But now, as you make progress and you start to move forward, they'll see that there may be that person out there that just doesn't think that anything will ever change. But now that they're hearing your success story, they'll be like, oh, well, hey, I know what Nate was going through. Like, oh, dang, he done lost 30 pounds. He's become more emotionally intelligent. Like, he's becoming aware. He's starting to, like, get to the root of his problems. Like, hey, if he can do it, then I can do it too. So, like, I think it's very, very important to kind of share your testimony with people, not just from, you know, when things are going great. Because I think it's so easy to get caught up in sharing when things are going so great. Like, you'll never see nobody on like a bad day on Instagram and be like, man, I just lost my fucking house. Nobody posts that picture on Instagram. Nobody does that.
Nobody's flexing with, you know, I lost my job today.
Yeah, nobody like, hey, I just lost my job. Let me take a selfie of this. Like, people don't do that because, like, you want people to see the best version of you. And I think this will kind of serve as like something that's different, and like, hey, look, you know, we're not perfect. Like, our opinions aren't like the gospel. This is just how two guys feel about certain things. And like, I think people can relate to that, and they can say, you know what, I can do that too. Like, I'm going through some hard times. I feel those same things that they feel, and I can make it through that thing too. So, I mean, if nothing else, I want this to kind of serve as like a reminder, or like, I guess, a running testimony to like, I know that you can do it, because I'm gonna be here to support you. And everybody that's listening to this, like, you can also do this. Like, you can make it through this. And I want you to know that you do have a support system. Everybody else in the world might want you to fail, but you at least now know that at least 2 people in the world, no matter how many people, it's billions and billions, you at least now know that 2 people in this world want you to succeed, and that we're on your side. Like, we may not be physically there with you, but we at least want you to succeed because we want to see you do better. Thanks for tuning in with us today. Hopefully we were able to give you something you can use and take forward into your day. If you want to reach out to us with any questions, comments, concerns, or even topic requests, links are in the description. Join us back here again next week in the MadHouse. We appreciate you.